From the moment I saw him standing beneath the old oak tree behind our school gym, sunlight slipping through the branches and catching on the edges of his hair, I knew trouble had found its way into my heart. It was the reckless, dangerous kind of trouble, but the quiet, unexplainable kind that steals your breath without warning. His name was Aiden, the boy everyone seemed to gravitate toward without even realizing why. But for me, it was different. It was admiration or fascination. It was something deeper, something that made my chest tighten every time his eyes brushed past mine. Back then, I never imagined that this boy, the one I admired from afar, would soon walk into my home, drop his backpack on my living room floor, and call my mother Mom. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected life twists, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more stories to life. I was 17 when everything changed. My mother had been living alone for years, pouring every ounce of love she had into raising me. My father had left when I was too young to understand anything except the heaviness of silence. Eventually, Mom learned to smile again, though I always wondered how much of her joy was real and how much was carefully practiced for my sake. When she told me she was seeing someone, I pretended it did bother me. I wanted her to be happy. I wanted her to feel loved the way she deserved. But a small part of me, the scared, selfish part, worried that everything would shift, and I was prepared for change. The night she introduced him to me, I tried to hide the tremble in my hands as I set the table. His name was Daniel. He walked in with gentle eyes and a smile that softened the room, and I understood immediately what my mother saw in him. He was warm, he was steady, and he made my mother's laughter sound like something new, something fuller. I didn't know then that he had a son whose name I knew far too well, a son who had unknowingly filled the pages of my diary, a son who walked into my life wearing the same hoodie I'd watched him wear at school, completely unaware that fate had tied us together before either of us had a chance to object. Aiden stepped inside as if the universe had pushed him across a boundary neither of us had agreed to. His eyes widened when he saw me. I felt my heart collapse into itself, like a building being swallowed by its own weight. In that moment, I wished I could vanish. I wished I could erase my feelings with the snap of a finger. But life doesn't curve itself around our comfort. It shatters us first and teaches us to gather the pieces without cutting ourselves too deeply. Watching him sit beside Daniel, as our parents talked excitedly about blended families, felt like being trapped in a dream I never chose. I didn't know how to look at him anymore. The boy I had imagined holding hands with after school, the boy who smiled, I'd memorized in every hallway, was now my soon-to-be stepbrother. And suddenly, every innocent little hope I had ever held felt wrong. I avoided him. I avoided myself. I avoided every thought that traced back to him like a forbidden path. The weeks that followed were a quiet war inside my chest. Aiden wasn't oblivious. He knew something had shifted in the air between us, even if he didn't understand why. He tried to talk to me, tried to break the strange barrier that had appeared out of nowhere, but I kept slipping away like a shadow running from the light. He wasn't arrogant or cold like many people assumed from afar. He was patient. He was thoughtful. He was observant in a way that made my heart throb painfully. But that only made things worse, because the more I tried to distance myself, the more the universe kept forcing us closer. When he moved in officially, the house changed. Not in a bad way, just different. Livelier, louder. He filled the empty spaces with his guitar, his late-night cereal cravings, his impossibly long phone calls with friends that always ended with playful laughter drifting through the walls. I told myself it didn't bother me. I told myself none of it mattered, but there were moments, small, unguarded ones, when I caught him looking at me differently, as if he was trying to understand something I was trying so hard to bury. One evening, rain hammered against the windows, as if trying to force its way in. I sat curled on the couch with my textbooks, pretending to study while my thoughts tangled themselves into knots. Aiden walked into the room, shaking raindrops from his hair after returning from a walk he claimed helped him clear his head. His eyes found mine, steady and unshaken despite the storm outside. And in that moment, something inside me cracked, not loudly, but with a soft whisper that felt like surrender. Life is strange. It has a way of teaching us that the things we fear facing are often the things we most need to confront. I realized then that avoidance wasn't protecting me, it was suffocating me. I had to let go of the fantasy I'd created, the illusion of a boy who belonged to a world that no longer existed. Aiden wasn't just the boy I had crushed on. He was my family now. Or at least he would be. And even though a part of me mourned the loss of something that had never actually existed, I knew I had to grow beyond it. With time, something unexpected happened. The ache in my chest softened, not immediately, not magically, but slowly, like winter giving way to spring. I started seeing Aiden not as the unreachable crush I had romanticized, but as a person standing right in front of me. Someone who was navigating his own transitions, his own uncertainties, his own life being rearranged, and acknowledging that gave me room to breathe again. We found a rhythm, not the one I once imagined, but a new one built on understanding, mutual respect, and strange, gentle moments of sibling-like camaraderie. And then life shifted again. My mother fell ill. It started with fatigue, the kind she brushed off as just stress. But soon, stress turned into tests, and tests turned into a diagnosis that wrapped its claws around our family with unforgiving force. Everything became a blur of appointments, medications, quiet tears, and exhausted prayers whispered into pillows. I felt myself unraveling. The girl who once feared her crush becoming her stepbrother suddenly found herself terrified of something much bigger, losing the person who had held her word together since birth. Unexpectedly, it was Aiden who became my anchor. He stayed up with me during the nights I could. He breathed from worry. He made dinner when I forgot to eat. He made stupid, badly timed jokes just to make me smile, even when my eyes were still wet with tears. He sat beside me in hospital waiting rooms, his presence steady, unshakable, and warm. I realized that family isn't always born, it is built. And sometimes it is built from the most unexpected, uncomfortable beginnings. My mother recovered slowly, but she recovered. And in her healing, something inside me healed too. I learned that love takes many forms. What I once mistook for romantic affection had transformed into something even deeper, not love that demands or dreams, but love that supports, protects, and stays even when life shakes the ground beneath you. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means the world. When I look back now, I realize that the universe wants to punishing me when it tangled my path with Aiden. It was preparing me. It was teaching me that crushes fade, fantasies dissolve, but real connection, the kind built through storms and healing, becomes something timeless. Aiden once. The boy I was meant to fall for, he was the brother I was meant to grow with. And strange as it sounds, that truth brought me more peace than any love story ever could. Before you hear the final lines, I'd love for you to comment below. Have you ever experienced a moment when life changed your heart as direction in a way you never expected? In the end, Aiden and I found our place not as star-crossed teens with tangled emotions, but as family shaped by resilience, understanding, and the quiet strength that comes from facing life's hardest chapters together. And if there one thing I've learned, it is that sometimes the most unexpected turns lead you exactly where you're meant to be.